I never expected to fall asleep on a stranger's shoulder during my flight, let alone wake up under the protection of Chicago's most dangerous mafia boss. What started as embarrassment quickly turned into something neither of us anticipated. But how do you build a future with someone whose past could get you both killed? The alarm shrieked at 4 a.m., dragging me from a sleep too brief to matter. I rolled over, my hand silencing it before Lily could wake in her crib by my bed. The apartment was cold, always cold, no matter how high I set the thermostat. My landlord said he'd fix it last month. I'd stopped believing him weeks ago. Just us against the world, baby girl, I whispered, watching Lily's chest rise and fall in the blue glow of the nightlight. She looked so much like her father sometimes. The thought stung. A fresh wound that never quite healed. I stepped into the shower, counting seconds instead of minutes. Hot water wasn't free, and neither was the electricity that heated it. My uniform hung on the bathroom door. The blue polyester shirt for the diner where I worked mornings, and the black pants and white shirt for the evening shift at the bar. 2 jobs, 80 hours, and still barely enough to cover rent and daycare. Lily woke as I dressed, her little face lighting up when she saw me, like I was the sun and moon and stars all at once. How could someone so small hold so much love? I lifted her, breathed in her baby scent, and felt that familiar ache, the one that came with knowing I couldn't give her everything she deserved. "Today is special, Lily Bear," I told her as I changed her diaper. "We're going on a trip to see Great-Grandma." I didn't tell her it would likely be the last time. The hospice nurse had called yesterday, not much time left. Mrs. Chen from next door arrived at 5 a.m. sharp. She watched Lily while I worked the morning shift. "You look tired, Sarah," she said, frowning at the bags under my eyes. "Just busy." I smiled, the lie familiar on my tongue. The diner was quiet that morning. I moved on autopilot, coffee, eggs, toast, smile, repeat. Tips were light. They were always light on Tuesdays. At noon, I rushed home, packed our small suitcase, and gathered Lily from Mrs. Chen. The bus to the airport was crowded, hot with too many bodies pressed together. I held Lily close, shielding her from wandering elbows and impatient sighs. The airport buzzed with people who looked like they belonged there. Business suits, rolling suitcases that didn't have duct tape holding the handles together. I clutched our tickets, purchased with the money I'd been saving for Lily's birthday present. Grandma was worth it. She'd raised me after Mom died, worked her fingers to the bone to keep food on our table. As we waited at the gate, I checked our bank balance on my cracked phone screen. The numbers stared back, too small to cover next month's rent. I'd figure something out. I always did. "Final boarding call for Flight 1872 to Chicago," the voice announced. I gathered our things, hoisted Lily higher on my hip, and walked toward the gate. Just another day of making it work, of stretching dollars and time and energy beyond what seemed possible. But for Lily, I'd stretch them until they broke. For Lily, I'd do anything. The airplane felt like a different world. Clean carpet, soft lights, and that smell, like lemons and something else I couldn't name. I shuffled down the narrow aisle with Lily on my hip, apologizing as we bumped knees and elbows. My backpack, stuffed with diapers and extra clothes, kept catching on the seats. "Sorry, excuse me, sorry," I mumbled, as an older man sighed when Lily's foot kicked his newspaper. Our seats were near the back, 32A and 32B, window and middle. I hoped the third seat would stay empty. Luck was rarely on my side, but maybe today would be different. "Here we go, Lily Bear," I whispered, settling her on my lap while I tucked our bag under the seat. "Look at the planes outside." Lily pressed her tiny hands against the window, leaving smudgy fingerprints as she babbled excitedly. My stomach growled, reminding me I'd skipped lunch to make the flight. The granola bar in my pocket would have to wait. Lily came first. The plane filled quickly. A young couple took the seats across the aisle and a woman with a laptop sat in front of us. The middle seat beside me remained empty as passengers filed past. 5 minutes to departure. 4, 3. Maybe luck was on my side after all. Then I saw him. He stood at the front of the cabin, tall in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Dark hair, cut short and neat, clean-shaven jaw, eyes scanning the row numbers. He carried only a slim leather bag and moved with the easy confidence of someone who always belonged wherever they went. Please not here, I thought as he came closer. Row 30, row 31. He stopped at row 32. Our eyes met for a split second. His were dark, almost black, and cold as winter. He glanced at Lily, then at the empty seat, his mouth tightening just slightly at the corners. "Excuse me," he said, voice low and smooth. I stood awkwardly, Lily squirming in my arms, and stepped into the aisle to let him pass. As he sat down, I caught a whiff of his cologne, something expensive that made me think of leather and wood. "Thank you," he said, not really looking at me as he settled into the middle seat. He opened his bag, pulled out a silver laptop, and put on headphones before I could even sit back down. The message was clear. He wasn't interested in talking. Fine by me. The flight attendant started her safety speech as the plane backed away from the gate. Lily bounced on my lap, pointing at everything. The lights, the people, the pictures on the safety card. I tried to keep her quiet, very aware of the man beside us who kept his eyes fixed on his screen. Takeoff made my stomach drop. Lily squealed, happy, not scared, and I smiled despite my nerves. Flying wasn't something we did. Ever. The tickets had eaten 3 months of careful saving, but Grandma was worth it. Once we were in the air, Lily started to fuss. She'd been so good all day, so patient through the bus ride and the long wait at the gate. But now she was tired and hungry and stuck in a small space. I dug through my bag for her bottle and favorite toy, very aware of the man next to us as his shoulders stiffened. "Shh, it's okay," I whispered, rocking her gently. I know. Lily wasn't convinced. Her fussing turned to crying, and I felt the familiar heat of embarrassment creep up my neck as people turned to look. The man beside me shifted in his seat, a small sigh escaping him. "I'm sorry," I said, not really expecting a response. "She's usually better than this." He gave a short nod but didn't look up from his computer. I tried everything. Her bottle, her stuffed bunny, songs hummed quietly in her ear. Nothing worked. My chest tightened with each passing minute. The couple across the aisle were openly staring now. The woman in front had put in earbuds. "Maybe try walking her," a flight attendant suggested as she passed. I stood, Lily crying against my shoulder, and paced the small area by the bathrooms. My arms ached from holding her all day. My head throbbed from too little sleep. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them back. I couldn't cry. Not here. Not now. After 20 minutes of pacing, Lily finally settled. Her eyes grew heavy, her little body warm against mine. Relief washed over me as I made my way back to our seats. The man looked up as I approached, his expression unreadable. "She's asleep," I whispered, carefully sliding past him to the window seat. He moved his legs to make room, closing his laptop as I sat. "Kids can find planes difficult," he said, surprising me. His voice was deep, with just a hint of some accent I couldn't place. "Yeah," I agreed, settling Lily against my chest. "Thank you for being patient." He shrugged one shoulder. "It's fine." It was the most he'd said since boarding. I studied him from the corner of my eye, the perfect cut of his suit, the expensive watch on his wrist, the way he held himself like someone used to being in charge. He seemed out of place in economy class. A man like him should be in first class, sipping champagne and eating real food instead of the tiny bags of pretzels the flight attendants were now distributing. The plane hit turbulence, bouncing hard enough that Lily stirred against me. I tightened my arms around her, my own stomach lurching. Flying was definitely not my thing. "First flight?" he asked, noticing my white-knuckled grip on the armrest. "Is it that obvious?" I tried to smile. "A little." Was that almost a smile on his face? It disappeared too quickly to tell. The turbulence got worse. The seatbelt sign dinged on. Lily whimpered in her sleep, and I stroked her back, fighting my own fear. The man beside me seemed unbothered, calmly sipping the water a flight attendant had brought him earlier. I didn't mean to fall asleep. But Lily was warm and heavy in my arms, and I'd been up since 4 a.m., and the gentle rocking of the plane through smooth air had a lulling effect. My head grew too heavy to hold up. My eyes drifted closed. Just for a minute, I told myself. Just a minute. A sudden drop woke me. The plane had hit another patch of turbulence. I blinked, disoriented, and realized with horror that my head was resting against something firm and warm, the man's shoulder. Lily was cradled between us, one of her hands clutching his sleeve, and draped over both of us was a dark suit jacket that wasn't mine. I jerked upright, mortification flooding through me. "I'm so sorry," I gasped. But what shocked me most wasn't that I'd fallen asleep on a stranger. It was the way he was looking at Lily, with an expression almost like tenderness, and that his hand was gently supporting her back, keeping her secure through the bumpy air. "You looked cold," he said simply, as if lending his jacket to strangers was something he did every day. Before I could respond, a man appeared in the aisle beside our row. He wore a suit too, but not as nice as my seatmates. He leaned down, speaking in a low voice. "Mr. Castellano, we've received word about the Chicago situation. They're expecting you." My heart skipped a beat. Castellano. The name hit me like cold water. Vincent Castellano. I'd seen it in newspapers, heard it whispered at the bar where I worked evenings. A businessman, they said. But the whispers told a different story. The man, Castellano, nodded once. "I'll handle it when we land." His voice had changed, harder now, colder. As the other man walked away, Castellano turned back to me. He must have seen something in my face because his eyes narrowed slightly. "You've heard of me," he said. Not a question. I swallowed, suddenly very aware of Lily in my arms. "A little. Don't believe everything you read." He reached for his jacket, carefully sliding it from around us without disturbing Lily. The plane began its descent, the pilot's voice announcing our approach to Chicago. I stared out the window at the city lights below, very aware of the dangerous man sitting beside me, and wondered what exactly I'd stumbled into. The plane landed with a bump that made my stomach drop. Lily stirred in my arms but didn't wake. Small blessings. Around us, people rushed to grab bags and phones, eager to leave the metal tube we'd been stuck in for hours. I stayed seated, letting others push past. No need to hurry. The cheap motel I'd booked wouldn't get any nicer if I arrived sooner. Mr. Castellano stood, his movements smooth and unhurried. He reached for his leather bag in the overhead bin, his suit jacket now back on his broad shoulders. I expected him to leave without a word, to vanish into the crowd of business people and tourists. Instead, he paused, looking down at me. "You have somewhere to stay?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. "Yes," I lied, thinking of the motel 40 minutes from the airport, the one with the scary reviews, but the only one I could afford. His dark eyes studied my face, like he could see through my words to the truth beneath. "Where's your luggage?" "This is it." I nodded to my backpack, suddenly aware of how little I had. 1 change of clothes for me, 2 for Lily, a few diapers. The bare minimum. He frowned slightly. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small white card. My driver will take you wherever you need to go. I stared at the card. Plain white with just a name and phone number in black print. That's not necessary, I said quickly. We'll be fine. It's not safe to take public transport at this hour with a child. His tone left no room for argument, firm but not unkind. The car is already waiting. Before I could protest again, he was gone, moving up the aisle with that same quiet confidence. People stepped aside for him without seeming to think about it. I looked down at the card in my hand, then at Lily's sleeping face. A free ride would save us an hour on buses. It would be foolish to refuse, wouldn't it? The airport was a maze of lights and noise. I followed the signs to baggage claim, though I had no bags to collect. Lily woke as we rode the escalator down, her eyes wide at the rush of new sights. "Where are we, Mama?" she asked, voice still heavy with sleep. "Chicago, baby. We're going to see Great-Grandma tomorrow." Near the exit doors, a tall man in a black suit held a small sign, Ms. Sarah. My first name only, but it had to be for me. How did Castellano even know my name? I hesitated, suddenly unsure. The man spotted me, his face serious but not unfriendly. "Ms. Sarah, Mr. Castellano sent me." "Yes, but the car is this way." He gestured toward the doors. "May I?" He reached for my backpack. I handed it over cautiously, keeping Lily close. "We're going to the Starlight Motel on Western Avenue." The driver's face didn't change, but something in his eyes did. "Mr. Ain, Castellano has arranged alternative accommodation." My heart skipped. "What?" "No, I have a reservation. It has been cancelled with full refund." He held the door open. "This way, please." Outside, a black SUV waited, its windows tinted dark. The kind of car I only saw in movies. The driver opened the back door, revealing leather seats and... was that a car seat for Lily? "I don't understand," I said, not moving. The driver's voice softened. "Mr. Castellano thought you might be more comfortable somewhere else, somewhere safer. The Starlight has had incidents recently." I thought of the motel reviews I'd read. Bugs. Strange noises at night. Locks that didn't work right. I looked at Lily, then at the waiting car. "Where are we going instead?" "The Lakeview Hotel. It's not far." The Lakeview. I'd passed it once on a rare day off. A tall glass building overlooking the water. Rooms there probably cost more per night than I made in a week. "I can't afford..." "It's taken care of," the driver said simply. "Please. It's getting late." Every warning I'd ever heard about strangers flashed through my mind. Don't get in cars with people you don't know. Don't accept gifts that seem too good to be true. But I was tired. So tired. And Lily was getting heavy in my arms. And somehow, despite everything I'd heard about Vincent Castellano, I wasn't afraid of him. I got in the car. The city lights blurred past the windows as we drove. Lily fell back asleep, safe in the car seat that fit her perfectly. The driver didn't talk, and I was grateful for the quiet. My mind raced with questions. Why would a man like Castellano help someone like me? What did he want? There had to be a catch. There was always a catch. The Lakeview Hotel rose before us, all glass and light against the night sky. The driver pulled up to the entrance where a doorman in a green uniform waited. "Here we are," the driver said, stopping the car. I unbuckled Lily carefully. "Thank you for the ride. Mr. Castellano has arranged everything inside. Just give your name at the desk." He handed me my backpack. "The car will be available to you during your stay. Day or night." The hotel lobby was the fanciest place I'd ever been. Marble floors that clicked under my worn shoes, a huge glass chandelier hanging from the ceiling, soft music playing from hidden speakers. I felt small and shabby, very aware of my wrinkled clothes and messy hair. The woman at the desk smiled when I approached. "Welcome to the Lakeview. How may I help you?" My name is Sarah Miller. I think there might be a room for me." Her smile widened. "Of course, Miss Miller. We've been expecting you." She typed something on her computer. "You're in the Lakeview suite on the 15th floor. Would you like assistance with your luggage?" "This is all I have," I said, gesturing to my backpack. If she thought this was strange, she didn't show it. "Very good. Here's your keycard." She handed me a small white card. "The elevators are to your right. Is there anything else you need?" So many things I needed. Answers mostly. But all I said was, "No, thank you." The elevator was mirrored, showing my tired face from every angle. Lily slept against my shoulder, her mouth slightly open. My reflection looked lost. A girl playing pretend in a world she didn't understand. The suite took my breath away. Not a room, rooms. A living area with soft couches and a TV bigger than my kitchen table. A bedroom with a bed that could fit 4 people. A bathroom with a tub I could actually lie down in. And everywhere, windows showing the dark lake and the city lights. But what shocked me most was the table near the window. On it sat a portable crib, already made up with soft blankets. Beside it, a bag of diapers, formula, baby wipes. A stuffed bear that looked so soft it made my heart ache. I laid Lily in the crib, my hands shaking slightly. She sighed in her sleep, curling around the new bear. I stood there watching her for a long time, trying to make sense of what was happening. A white envelope sat on the coffee table. Inside was a note, written in a strong, slanted hand. "The car will take you to visit your grandmother tomorrow. Call the number on my card if you need anything. Rest well. VC." I sank onto the couch, note in hand. This wasn't normal. People like Vincent Castellano didn't help people like me without a reason. I should be scared. I should grab Lily and run. Find a bus. Go back to our small apartment with the broken heater and the thin walls. But where in that life was there a soft bed and a warm bath? Where was the chance to visit Grandma without worrying about bus schedules and cheap motels? Just this once. Couldn't I accept help, even if I didn't understand why it was being offered? I ran my finger over the initials at the bottom of the note. VC Vincent Castellano. A name that made tough guys at the bar lower their voices. A name in newspaper stories about businesses changing hands overnight. Dangerous, my mind whispered. This man is dangerous. But he'd given me his jacket on the plane. He had watched over Lily while I slept. He'd sent us somewhere safe. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow I would thank him, then find our own way. But tonight, just for tonight, I would sleep in this beautiful room, in this soft bed, and pretend that the world could be kind to people like me. Morning light streamed through the huge windows, painting golden squares on the thick carpet. I woke slowly, confused by the soft bed and the quiet. No honking cars, no neighbors fighting through thin walls. Just silence and the faint sound of Lily babbling to herself. I sat up, memories of yesterday flooding back. The plane, Vincent Castellano, this hotel room that cost more than my monthly rent. Lily stood in her portable crib, clutching the new teddy bear and smiling when she saw me. "Mama, bear." "I see that. Baby?" I swung my legs over the side of the bed. "It's a nice bear, huh?" A soft knock at the door made me jump. I wasn't expecting anyone. I picked up Lily, holding her close as I approached the door. "Who is it?" I called. "Room service, Ms. Miller." Room service? I hadn't ordered anything. I opened the door a crack to see a young woman in a hotel uniform standing beside a cart covered with silver domes. "I didn't order this," I said. She smiled. "It's been taken care of. May I bring it in?" Taken care of. Those words again. I stepped back, letting her wheel the cart into the room. She lifted the domes to reveal eggs, toast, fruit, juice, and coffee. A smaller plate held tiny pancakes shaped like bears. "The kitchen made these special for the little one," she said, nodding at Lily, who was staring wide-eyed at the food. "Will there be anything else?" "No, thank you." I hesitated. "Who arranged this?" "I believe it was Mr. Castellano's assistant." She smiled again. "Enjoy your breakfast." After she left, I sat Lily in the chair with the bare pancakes and poured myself coffee in a china cup so delicate, I was afraid it might break in my hands. The food was the best I'd ever tasted. Eggs that melted in my mouth, bread still warm from the oven. As we ate, I tried to make sense of everything. Why would a man like Vincent Castellano care about a woman and child he met on a plane? What did he want? There had to be a catch. There was always a catch. Another knock interrupted my thoughts. This time, a man in a suit stood in the hallway. "Ms. Miller, the car is ready whenever you'd like to visit your grandmother." The hospital where Grandma stayed was on the other side of the city. The car, the same black SUV from last night, made the trip in just under 30 minutes, gliding through traffic like water. The driver stayed silent in the front seat, only speaking to ask if the temperature was comfortable for us. The hospice building was small and plain compared to the gleaming hotel. Inside smelled of cleaning products and something else. Something sad that made my chest tight. I carried Lily through hallways with faded wallpaper, following signs to room 212. "I'll wait here," the driver said, stopping in the lobby. Grandma looked so small in her bed, surrounded by beeping machines. Her skin was pale against the white sheets, almost see-through. My heart cracked at the sight. "Sarah?" Her voice was just a whisper. "Is that you?" "It's me, Grandma." I moved to her side, holding Lily where she could see her. "And look who came to see you too." A smile spread across Grandma's tired face. "My sweet girls." She reached out a shaky hand and Lily grabbed her finger, babbling happily. We stayed for an hour, maybe 2. I told Grandma about home, about my jobs, making everything sound better than it was. Why worry her now? Lily played with a coloring book the nurses had given her, scribbling bright colors across the pages. "Who is that man?" Grandma asked suddenly, her eyes on the door. I turned to see Vincent Castellano standing in the hallway, watching through the glass window. He wore another perfect suit, dark blue this time, and stood with his hands in his pockets. When he saw me looking, he nodded once, but didn't come in. "Just someone who helped me on the flight," I said, surprised to see him. Grandma studied him through the glass. "He looks at you like you're a puzzle he can't solve," she whispered. "Be careful, but remember, sometimes help comes from unexpected places." After a while, Grandma's eyes grew heavy. A nurse came in to check the machines, smiling gently at me. "She needs rest," she said. "You can come back tomorrow." I kissed Grandma's papery cheek and helped Lily do the same. "We'll see you tomorrow," I promised. In the hallway, Vincent Castellano waited, a still point in the busy hospital. Up close, I noticed things I'd missed on the plane. A small scar near his left eyebrow, the way his eyes weren't really black, but very dark brown. The slight shadow of stubble on his jaw. "Thank you," I said, stopping in front of him, "for making it possible for me to be here." "Your grandmother is important to you," he stated. Not a question. "She raised me after my parents died. She's all I had until Lily." Something flashed in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps. Understanding. "The car will take you wherever you need to go." "You didn't have to come here," I said. "To check on us." He looked away, out the window at the parking lot below. "I was nearby on business." I didn't believe him, but I nodded anyway. "We won't take up much more of your time. I appreciate the hotel room, but we can find somewhere else." The suite is yours for as long as you need it. His voice was firm. Your grandmother needs you close by. Before I could argue, Lily reached out toward him, her little hand opening and closing. Up, she demanded, something she rarely did with strangers. Vincent looked startled, his composed expression cracking for just a moment. He glanced at me, as if asking permission. I nodded, surprised by my own trust. Carefully, like she was made of glass, he took Lily from my arms. She immediately grabbed his tie, a silk one that probably cost more than all my clothes combined. Careful, Lily, I said, reaching to stop her. It's fine, Vincent said. His face had changed, softened somehow as Lily patted his cheek with her small hand. She's not afraid. She's a good judge of character, I said without thinking. His eyes met mine, serious and searching. I hope she is. Back at the hotel, Vincent surprised me by coming up to the suite. I thought you might want dinner, he explained as a hotel worker wheeled in a cart with covered dishes. If that's all right. I should have said no, should have thanked him for his help and drawn a line. But Lily was already showing him her bear, chattering in her mix of real and made-up words. And something in me didn't want him to go. Dinner would be nice, I said. Thank you. We ate after Lily went to sleep, sitting by the window overlooking the lake. The food was like nothing I'd ever tasted. Tender steak, vegetables and butter, chocolate cake that melted on my tongue. Vincent ate little, watching me enjoy the meal with what might have been amusement in his eyes. Why are you doing all this? I finally asked. The hotel, the car, the food. You don't know us. He was quiet for a long time, swirling the water in his glass. He hadn't touched the wine that came with dinner. My mother was like you, he said finally, surprising me. Alone with a child, struggling. No one helped her. He glanced toward the bedroom where Lily slept. Some debts can't be repaid to those who earned them. I'm not a charity case, I said, though there was no heat in my words. I never thought you were. He set his glass down. Your daughter trusts me. You don't. I don't know you. What do you want to know? Everything, I thought. Nothing. I'm scared of the answers. What do you really do? I asked. For work? His face closed slightly. I manage various business interests, real estate, shipping, private security. People seem afraid of you. A shadow crossed his face. Yes. Should I be? His eyes met mine, dark and serious. No, not you. His phone rang then, breaking the moment. He frowned at the screen before answering. Castellano. His voice was different now, harder, colder. When? No, that's not acceptable. I'll handle it. When he hung up, the man who had carefully held Lily was gone. In his place was someone else, someone with eyes like ice and tension in every line of his body. I need to attend to something, he said, already moving toward the door. Stay here. Is everything okay? I asked, following him. He paused with his hand on the doorknob, not looking at me. Business complications, nothing for you to worry about. When will you be back? Now he turned, surprise flickering across his face. You want me to come back? I didn't answer right away. Did I? This man was a stranger, a dangerous stranger if the rumors were true. But he'd been kind to us. And something in me wanted to see more of that kindness, to understand the contradiction between his reputation and the man who had gently held my daughter. Yes, I said finally. I do. The surprise in his eyes softened to something else, something that made my heart beat faster. Lock the door behind me, he said. Don't open it for anyone but me. Hours passed. I put Lily to bed properly, then sat by the window watching the city lights. What was I doing here? Playing pretend in this fancy hotel? Having dinner with a man whose world was so far from mine we might as well be from different planets? A knock at the door startled me. It was past midnight. I looked through the peephole to see Vincent standing there, but not the Vincent who had left earlier. This one had a cut above his eye, a darkening bruise on his jaw. His perfect suit was wrinkled, his tie gone. I opened the door quickly. "You're hurt." "It's nothing," he dismissed, but allowed me to lead him to the bathroom where I ran warm water over a washcloth. "What happened?" I asked, gently cleaning the cut above his eye. "Sometimes negotiations become physical," he said with a bitter smile. "This is my world. You should remember that." Our eyes met in the mirror as I tended to his wounds. Something passed between us, a current of understanding, or maybe something more. His world was dangerous, yes. But in this moment, with his guard down and his eyes soft on mine, I couldn't bring myself to be afraid. And that, perhaps, was the most dangerous thing of all. The call came at dawn, pulling me from sleep with its shrill ring. The hospital. Grandma had taken a turn during the night. "You should come now," the nurse said, her voice gentle but leaving no room for hope. I dressed quickly, hands shaking as I woke Lily and pulled a sweater over her pajamas. Vincent appeared at our door before I could call the driver, as if he somehow knew. His face was serious, the cut above his eye now a thin red line. "I'll take you," was all he said. The morning was gray, matching my heart as we drove through quiet streets. Lily dozed in her car seat, unaware that we were rushing toward goodbye. Vincent drove himself this time, his hand steady on the wheel while mine trembled in my lap. He didn't offer empty words of comfort. Instead, he drove faster, understanding that time was the only gift that mattered now. We were too late. Just 10 minutes too late. The nurse met us in the hallway, her eyes saying everything before her mouth formed the words. "I'm so sorry." The world tilted sideways, the floor unsteady beneath my feet. Vincent's hand at my elbow kept me upright, a solid anchor in the storm. Grandma looked peaceful, as if she were just sleeping. I sat beside her, holding her still warm hand, while Lily played quietly on the floor with crayons a kind nurse had brought. Vincent stood by the door like a sentry, keeping the world at bay while I said goodbye to the woman who had raised me. "She loved you very much," he said later as we walked slowly back to the car. I could see it in the photos by her bed. Tears blurred my vision. She was all the family I had left. His voice was quiet. Not anymore. The next days passed in a blur. Vincent arranged everything. The funeral home, the paperwork, the small service at the cemetery where Grandma would rest beside Grandpa and my parents. I moved through it all like a sleepwalker, numb except for the moments when Lily's small hands patted my cheeks, her eyes confused by my tears. The funeral was on a Tuesday, the sky clear and blue in a way that seemed wrong for such a sad day. I wore a black dress I'd found hanging in the hotel closet, tags removed but clearly new. I hadn't asked where it came from. I knew. A handful of people came. Grandma's church friends, a couple of neighbors from her old building, the hospice nurses who had cared for her. And Vincent, standing slightly apart, watching everything with those dark, careful eyes. I noticed men in dark suits stationed around the cemetery, their attention on the crowd rather than the service. Vincent's men. I realized they weren't there for the funeral. They were there for him. For us. As we left the cemetery, a sleek black car pulled up alongside the curb, different from Vincent's SUV, lower, more expensive looking. A woman emerged, tall and elegant in a way that made me feel small and shabby despite my new dress. Her dark hair was pulled back from a face that might have been beautiful, if not for the coldness in her eyes. Those eyes, the same deep brown as Vincent's, but lacking any of the warmth I'd glimpsed in his. "So this is your latest project, Vincent?" she asked, her voice smooth as silk but sharp as glass. Sophia, he acknowledged, his body tense beside mine. This is a private matter. Nothing is private in our family, she replied, her eyes flickering to Lily in my arms, then back to me with a look that stripped me bare. The others are concerned about your distractions. My concerns are my own, Vincent said, his voice so low I barely heard it. But something in that voice made me hold Lily tighter, made me want to step back, away from these two people whose quiet words felt like knives in the air. Are they? Sophia's red lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Father would disagree. Father is in Milan. Vincent moved slightly, putting his body between this woman and me. This conversation is over. She laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. For now. Her eyes found mine again. Enjoy your time with my brother, dear. He tires of his toys quickly. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume, sliding back into her car with the grace of a cat. I watched the car pull away, my heart hammering against my ribs. Who was that? I asked when I could find my voice. My sister, Vincent said, his face hard as stone. Family business is complicated. That night, back at the hotel, Lily fell asleep early, worn out by the long, strange day. I sat by the window, watching lights flicker on across the city as darkness fell. Vincent had left after bringing us back, called away by another urgent phone call. But he'd promised to return. I heard his voice before I saw him, coming through the partially open door to the second bedroom. He must have thought I was asleep, must not have realized sound carried in the quiet suite. She's not involved. No, I won't allow it. This isn't negotiable. His voice was different, harder than I'd ever heard it, with an edge that made me shiver despite the warm room. I moved away from the door, unwilling to hear more. Some things were better left unknown. When he came out, I pretended to be asleep on the couch, my eyes closed but my heart racing. I felt him pause beside me, felt the whisper of movement as his hand gently brushed a strand of hair from my face. I'll keep you safe, he whispered, so quietly I almost missed it. Both of you. The next day, Vincent was gone before I woke, a note on the table saying simply, business. Back tonight. I decided to take Lily out, to feel normal for a few hours. The driver took us to a grocery store where I could buy snacks that didn't cost a fortune from room service. In the cereal aisle, I felt it, eyes on my back, watching. I turned to see a woman pretending to study soup cans. Young, athletic-looking, with alert eyes that didn't match her casual pose. When I moved to the next aisle, she followed. I grabbed Lily and headed for the checkout, heart pounding. In the parking lot, I confronted her. Why are you following me? She didn't deny it, didn't pretend. Mr. Castellano assigned me to protect you. The words hit me like cold water. Protect me? He has concerns about your safety. She glanced around the parking lot, eyes never still. I'm supposed to stay unseen. I apologize for alarming you. From what? I demanded, holding Lily closer. What does he think will happen to us? Her eyes met mine, serious and direct. Mr. Castellano has enemies. Now that you're associated with him, you have them too. The drive back to the hotel was silent, my mind racing with questions I wasn't sure I wanted answered. Vincent's world was creeping closer, wrapping around Lily and me like vines, his sister, his business, his enemies. Each day, the line between his reality and mine blurred further. That night, after Lily was asleep, I stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. From 15 floors up, Chicago looked peaceful, a sea of twinkling stars. But now I knew better. Somewhere in that glittering expanse, people were watching us, waiting. When Vincent returned, his face was tight with worry. You went out today, he said, not a question. I met your babysitter. I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. The one who followed us around the store. He didn't apologize. Andrea is the best. She won't make the same mistake twice. The mistake of letting me see her, you mean? I turned to face him. Why didn't you tell me someone was watching us? Would it have made you feel safer or more afraid? The question stopped me short. More afraid, probably. But also more prepared. More aware of what I was getting into by staying in his orbit. Your sister called me your project, I said. Your toy. Is that what we are? Some kind of charity case you'll get tired of? Pain flashed across his face, quickly hidden. Sophia sees weakness in any form of caring. It's how we were raised. And is she right? Will you get tired of us? He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, could see the tiredness in his eyes. I have never met anyone like you, he said softly. Someone who sees me as a person, not just a name to fear or use. How could I tire of that? His phone rang, breaking the moment. It always rang. I was beginning to hate that sound. He answered, his expression changing as he listened. Where? When? I'm on my way. When he hung up, his face had transformed again into that mask of cold control. I have to go. More business? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. He paused at the door, looking back at me with eyes that held too many secrets. Stay inside tonight, please. After he left, I locked the door and checked on Lily, sleeping peacefully with her bear. On the TV, a news report caught my attention. A warehouse fire on the city's south side. The reporter mentioned suspected arson, possible gang connections. I turned it off quickly, not wanting to hear more. Not wanting to wonder if Vincent's business had anything to do with flames lighting up the night sky. But the question burned in my mind anyway, impossible to ignore. Who exactly was the man I was starting to care for? And was caring for him putting Lily in danger? Days stretched into weeks. The hotel suite began to feel like home, with Lily's toys scattered across the carpet, and my few belongings mingling with the new things that kept appearing. Clothes in my size hanging in the closet, a tablet loaded with children's books for Lily, a soft blanket in my favorite shade of blue. You need to stop buying us things, I told Vincent one evening as he read to Lily before her bedtime. She sat in his lap as if she belonged there, pointing at pictures in the book with small, excited fingers. Why? He asked, looking up with genuine confusion in his dark eyes. Because we can't pay you back. Because it makes me feel like I owe you something. His face softened. You owe me nothing. That's not how the world works, I said. Everything has a price. Not everything. His voice was quiet as he turned back to the book. Lily's head resting against his chest. Later, after Lily was asleep, Vincent surprised me by asking, "What will you do when you go back home?" The question caught me off guard. I hadn't thought about home in days. Our tiny apartment with the leaky faucets and noisy neighbors felt like another life, one I'd lived in a dream. Go back to work, I guess. My old boss at the diner said my job would be there. And the evening job? At the bar? I shrugged. That too. He frowned. Working 2 jobs with a small child. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter, I said. It's what I need to do. And if you had a choice? If you could do anything? I looked out the window at the city below, lights twinkling like fallen stars. I always wanted to finish school, get a degree in education, maybe teach kindergarten. I smiled slightly. I like kids. They see the world as it could be, not just as it is. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. I could help with that. With school. Something inside me twisted. I told you, I don't want charity. It wouldn't be charity. It would be an investment. In what? His eyes met mine. In someone who deserves a chance. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the living room thinking about Vincent's offer. School. A real career. No more double shifts and constant exhaustion. A better life for Lily. But at what cost? Everything had a price, whether Vincent admitted it or not. The longer we stayed in his world, the more entangled we became. His driver took us everywhere. His security watched from a distance. His money paid for our food, our clothes, this beautiful room with its view of the lake. And somewhere out there were his enemies, people who might see Lily and me as a way to hurt him. My phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. It was past midnight. Who would call so late? Hello? I answered cautiously. Is this Sarah Miller? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Yes. Who is this? My name isn't important. What's important is that you understand the danger you're in. The voice was calm, matter of fact. Vincent Castellano isn't who you think he is. My heart pounded. How did you get this number? The same way I know you're staying in the Lakeview Hotel. The same way I know about your daughter, Lily. My blood turned to ice. What do you want? To warn you, Castellano has enemies, powerful people who won't hesitate to use you to get to him. If you're smart, you'll take your daughter and disappear before you become collateral damage. The line went dead. I stood frozen, phone in hand, fear crawling up my spine like a living thing. How did this stranger know about us? About Lily? I jumped at a knock on the door, nearly dropping the phone. Through the peephole, I saw Vincent, his face tense in the hallway light. I opened the door with shaking hands. How did you know to come? The hotel has instructions to notify me of any calls to your room after hours. He stepped inside, eyes scanning my face. Who was it? I don't know. A man. He knew about us, about Lily. He said we're in danger because of you. Vincent's face hardened, a muscle twitching in his jaw. What exactly did he say? I told him, watching as something dark and cold filled his eyes. When I finished, he pulled out his phone and spoke rapidly to someone on the other end. I caught fragments. Trace the call. Increase security. Move them tonight. After he hung up, he turned to me. Pack your things. Just the essentials. What? Why? Panic rose in my chest. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. He was already moving toward Lily's room. I'll get her ready. Stop. My voice was sharper than I intended. Just stop and tell me what's happening. Vincent paused, his hand on the doorknob. For a moment he looked torn, as if fighting some internal battle. There's a situation, he finally said. A business rival making threats. It's nothing I can't handle, but I want you and Lily away from here until it's resolved. A business rival? I repeated, anger replacing fear. Normal business rivals don't threaten children. Vincent. His silence was answer enough. This is your world, isn't it? I gestured around us. The security guards, the mysterious phone calls, the business that leaves you with bruised knuckles and cuts on your face. Sarah, no. I cut him off. I've been living in a fantasy, pretending that whatever you do doesn't affect us. But it does. That man on the phone knows about Lily. He knows where we're staying. Vincent moved closer, his eyes pleading. I would never let anyone hurt you. Either of you. You can't promise that. My voice broke. You can't control everything. I can protect what matters to me. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Is that what we are? Something else for you to control? To protect? To own? Pain flashed across his face. You know that's not true. Do I? I wrapped my arms around myself. Suddenly cold despite the warm room. I don't even know who you really are. I'm the same person I've always been. His voice was soft. The person who held your daughter on a plane, who made sure you could say goodbye to your grandmother, Who wants to give you a chance at the life you deserve? And the other part? The part that makes people afraid to say your name? The part that has business rivals threatening innocent children? He was quiet for a long moment. That's part of me too. I can't change my past. But my future, that could be different. The sincerity in his voice made my heart ache. I wanted to believe him. Part of me already did. But another part, the practical part that had survived this long by being careful, wouldn't let me ignore the danger signs. I need to think, I said finally. I need space to figure out what's best for Lily. For me. Something like resignation crossed his face. You're thinking of leaving. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Maybe. I don't know. Where would you go? Back to your apartment? He found you here. He would find you there too. The truth of his words hit me like a physical blow. There was nowhere to run that would be truly safe, not from people determined to use us to hurt Vincent. Then what do we do? I asked, hating the helplessness in my voice. Let me take you somewhere no one will find you. Just until this is over. And then what? I asked. We come back here and pretend everything is normal? Wait for the next threat? The next enemy who decides Lily and I are your weakness? Or we find a different way forward? His eyes held mine. Together. The word hung in the air between us. Together. Such a simple word for such a complicated proposition. I can't make that decision tonight, I said finally. Not like this. He nodded, accepting but not happy. Will you at least come with me now? Somewhere safe? I looked toward the room where Lily slept, innocent and unaware of the danger swirling around her. Whatever my feelings about Vincent and his world, her safety had to come first. Yes, I agreed. Just until this is over. We packed quickly and quietly. Lily didn't wake as Vincent carried her to the car, wrapped in her blanket with her bear clutched in one small hand. I followed with our bag, looking back at the hotel room that had been our sanctuary. Now it felt like a trap. The night was dark and cold as we drove through empty streets. Vincent was silent beside me, his face illuminated in flashes by passing streetlights. I watched his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the tension in his shoulders, and wondered how I had ended up here, fleeing in the night with a man whose world was so dangerous it threatened to consume us. And yet, despite everything, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. That was the most frightening realization of all. The safe house was a cabin beside a lake, nestled among pine trees that swayed gently in the wind. From the wide windows I could see nothing but water, trees, and sky. No other houses, no roads, no sign of the world we'd left behind. The nearest town was 20 minutes away by car, Vincent told me. We were alone here, except for the security team that patrolled the perimeter, staying out of sight but always watchful. Inside, the cabin was warm and cozy, with wooden walls and soft furniture. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows across the floor. Lily loved it immediately, running from room to room, discovering new toys and books that had somehow arrived before we did. How long will we stay here? I asked Vincent as I unpacked our few belongings. Until it's safe, he said, his eyes on Lily as she stacked colorful blocks on the rug. And when will that be? He turned to me, his face serious. I'm working on it. A week, maybe 2. And then what? The question that had haunted me since the night of the phone call. Vincent was quiet for a moment. That depends on you. The days at the lake house fell into a gentle rhythm. Mornings spent with Lily, exploring the small beach or the woods near the cabin, always with one of Vincent's men watching from a distance. Afternoons filled with naps and books and the simple pleasure of having nothing to do but be together. Evenings by the fire, talking quietly after Lily went to sleep. Vincent came and went, never staying away more than a day or two. Each time he returned, Lily would run to him with excited squeals, arms raised to be lifted high in the air. And each time I would notice the subtle changes, the darkness in his eyes slowly lifting, the tension in his shoulders easing, as if the cabin was a sanctuary for him as much as for us. One bright morning, Vincent surprised us by staying when he would normally leave for business. Instead, he took Lily down to the lake, showing her how to skip stones across the water. I watched from the porch as he knelt beside her, his large hand guiding her small one, both of them laughing when a stone bounced 3 times before sinking. "Again!" Lily demanded, and Vincent complied, his face transformed by a smile that made him look younger, lighter, free of the weight he usually carried. That evening, after Lily was asleep, we sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of orange and pink. A comfortable silence stretched between us, broken only by the gentle creak of the swing and the distant call of birds. "I'm dismantling certain aspects of my business," Vincent said suddenly, his eyes on the horizon. "What does that mean?" I asked, turning to study his profile. "It means I'm stepping away from operations that could be considered problematic." "Why would you do that?" My heart beat faster, though I tried to keep my voice calm. His eyes held mine. "Because I want a different life, one that could include you, if you wanted it." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning and possibility. Before I could respond, one of his security team approached, his face serious in the fading light. "Mr. Castellano," he said, "there's a situation that requires your attention." Vincent's expression darkened immediately. He stood, all traces of the relaxed man who had skipped stones with my daughter gone in an instant. "What is it?" he asked, his voice low. "It's your sister, sir. She's made a move against the Reardon territory. There have been incidents." "Casualties?" "Yes, sir." 3 confirmed. Vincent's jaw tightened. "Get the car ready, I need to make some calls." As the security man walked away, Vincent turned back to me, his face a mask I couldn't read. "They've found us," he said, answering my unasked question. "My sister has made her move." Fear clutched at my throat. "Found us? Here?" "Not exactly, but she's forcing my hand, creating a situation I can't ignore from a distance." "What does that mean?" I stood too, wrapping my arms around myself against a sudden chill. "It means I need to end this. Permanently." The coldness in his voice scared me more than his words. This was a Vincent I hadn't seen before, hard and dangerous and utterly focused. "What are you going to do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He moved closer, his hands gentle as they framed my face. "Whatever is necessary to keep you safe, to give us a chance." "Vincent, trust me," he said, his eyes pleading. "Please." He left that night, the security team doubling around the cabin in his absence. For 3 days there was nothing. No calls, no messages, no word of any kind. The silence was worse than bad news, leaving my mind free to imagine the worst. I checked the news obsessively on the tablet Vincent had left behind, searching for any hint of what might be happening. On the 2nd day, I found it. Reports of violence in Chicago, targeted assassinations, businesses changing hands overnight. Vincent's name appeared in speculation, but no one seemed to know if he was orchestrating events or caught in their web, or if he was even alive. By the 3rd night, I was frantic with worry. Lily sensed my distress, becoming clingy and irritable. I put her to bed early, singing the lullabies my grandmother had once sung to me, trying to hide the tremor in my voice. Outside, night fell quickly, the darkness absolute without city lights to soften it. I sat by the window, watching the black surface of the lake reflect a thin slice of moon, and wondered if I had been a fool to believe Vincent could simply walk away from his world, if I had been a fool to let myself care for him. The sound came just after midnight, the steady beat of helicopter blades cutting through the silence. I ran to the porch, heart in my throat, as light swept across the trees. The security team emerged from the shadows, hands on weapons, until a voice crackled over their radios. "Stand down, it's the boss." The helicopter landed on the open area near the lake shore, its blades slowing as the door slid open. I waited on the porch, breath suspended until a figure emerged from the swirling dust. Vincent moved slowly, favoring one leg as he walked toward the cabin. Even in the dim light, I could see the exhaustion in his face, the new lines carved around his eyes. When he reached the steps, he stopped, looking up at me with an expression I couldn't quite name. Hope mixed with uncertainty, determination shadowed by pain. "It's done," he said simply. "What's done?" I asked, not moving from the doorway. "All of it." He climbed the steps one at a time, wincing slightly. "The war with my sister, the connections to the old businesses, the debts and favors and threats." He stopped just short of touching me. "I've made my choice, Sarah." I looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. "And what choice is that?" "You," he said, his voice breaking slightly on the word. "You and Lily, a different life, if you'll have me." "Just like that? You walk away from everything you've built? Everything you are?" "Not everything I am?" His hand reached for mine, hesitant, giving me the choice to pull away. "Just the parts that would keep me from you." I didn't pull away. His fingers were warm against mine, familiar now in a way that should have frightened me but instead felt right. "I need to know," I said, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. "Who are you now? Who will you be tomorrow? And the day after that?" "Whoever you need me to be," he answered, but no longer who I was. In the quiet of the night, with the lake whispering against the shore below us, I made my choice too. Not just for myself, but for Lily, for the future we might build together. I stepped closer, closing the space between us, and reached for his other hand. "Then show me who we can be together." His arms wrapped around me, strong and sure, and I felt the tension leave his body as he held me. Over his shoulder, I could see the helicopter waiting by the lake, its presence a reminder of the world we were leaving behind, a world of power and danger and hard choices. But as Vincent's lips found mine, gentle at first, then hungry with a need that matched my own, I knew we were building something new, something that belonged only to us. Later, as we lay tangled together in the quiet darkness, Vincent's breathing slow and steady against my skin, I listened to the sounds of the night, the wind in the trees, the soft lapping of water against the shore, the distant call of an owl. So different from the city noises I had grown used to, so peaceful. "What happens now?" I whispered, not sure if he was still awake. His arms tightened around me. "Whatever we want." "And your sister? The people who threatened us?" He was quiet for a moment. "Sophia has agreed to certain terms. As for the others, some have been dealt with. Some have accepted the new arrangement." I didn't ask what dealt with meant. Some questions were better left unasked. "Will it really be over?" I pressed. "Can it be that simple?" Vincent shifted, propping himself up on one elbow to look down at me. In the dim light filtering through the curtains, his face was all shadows and angles, familiar and mysterious at once. "Not simple," he said. "Nothing worthwhile ever is, but possible." His hand traced the curve of my face. "We make our own path now." Morning came with soft light and bird song. Lily woke early, her delighted squeal when she found Vincent at the breakfast table filling the cabin with joy. He lifted her into his lap, letting her steal bites of his toast, answering her endless questions with patience I had never seen in him before. Looking at them together, this dangerous man and my innocent daughter, I felt a certainty settle over me. We had crossed a threshold. Whatever came next, we would face it together. "I love you," Vincent said later, when Lily had gone outside with one of the security team to look for pretty stones by the lake. "I never thought I'd say those words again. Never thought I'd feel this way." "I love you too," I answered, the words coming easily, naturally, as if they had been waiting inside me all along. "But I'm still scared." "Of what?" "Of losing this. Of finding out it was all a dream." He took my hands in his dark eyes serious. "Not a dream. A choice. My choice. Our choice." And in that moment I believed him. Believed in us. In the life we could build from the broken pieces of our pasts. A life that neither of us had dared to imagine before we met. A life that began with a tired mother falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder during a turbulent flight. 1 year passes like a dream. The seasons change outside our windows. Summer fading to fall, winter blanketing the world in white, spring bringing new life, and summer returning again, warmer and brighter than before. We moved 3 months after that night at the lake house, leaving the cabin that had sheltered us during the storm for a permanent home by the sea. Our house stands on a cliff overlooking the ocean, far from Chicago and its memories. The walls are white, the windows tall and wide to let in light, and the constant sound of waves crashing on rocks below. A winding path leads down to a small private cove where Lily plays in the sand, collecting shells and sea glass that she arranges in colorful patterns on her bedroom windowsill. Vincent's world has changed as much as mine. He runs legitimate businesses now, shipping companies that move goods across oceans, real estate developments that transform abandoned buildings into homes, investments that grow quietly but steadily. Sometimes I catch him looking at papers late at night, his face serious as he studies numbers and charts, building something new from the foundation of his former empire, cleansed of its darkest elements. His former associates keep their distance, respecting the boundaries he's established with a firmness that allows no challenge. Some, like his driver Marco, chose to follow him into this new life, their loyalty to the man stronger than their ties to the old ways. Others disappeared, moving on to new territories or new allegiances. A few, like his sister Sophia, maintain a cold distance, showing up at necessary business functions but never crossing the line into our personal lives. They see his choices as weakness, as betrayal of the family code. Vincent sees them as the price of freedom. The danger hasn't vanished entirely. We remain cautious, vigilant in ways that other families might find strange. Our home has security systems that would impress government agencies. Lily's school receives regular visits from family friends who are actually Vincent's most trusted security team. We never follow the same routine 2 days in a row, small precautions that have become as natural as breathing. But within these careful boundaries, we've built a life of unexpected sweetness. Mornings begin with Lily climbing into our bed, her small body wedging between us as she chatters about her dreams. Breakfasts eaten on the patio overlooking the ocean, the three of us planning our day as seagulls wheel overhead. Afternoons spent working. Vincent in his home office connected to his business interests across the globe, me at the small desk by the garden where I study for the teaching degree I finally started pursuing. Evenings are my favorite. As the sun sinks toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, we gather in the kitchen to prepare dinner together. Lily stands on a step stool beside Vincent, helping him chop vegetables with a small blunt knife, her face serious with concentration. I watch them together, This man who once commanded an empire of shadows now teaching my daughter how to make pasta sauce from scratch, and marvel at how life can change in ways you never expect. After dinner, Vincent reads to Lily before bedtime, his deep voice giving life to stories of brave princesses and clever children, and magical worlds where good always triumphs over evil. I listen from the doorway sometimes, watching as my daughter drifts to sleep with her head on the chest of a man who once made hardened criminals tremble, but who now checks under her bed for monsters with patient seriousness. Night brings its own rituals. Vincent and I walk along the beach under stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. We talk about our days, our plans, our dreams for Lily's future. Sometimes we don't talk at all. Just listen to the waves and feel the sand cool beneath our feet. Grateful for the quiet after years of noise. In our bedroom, with moonlight streaming through windows we never cover because there are no neighbors to see, I trace the scars on Vincent's body, marks left by the life he led before me. A ragged line across his ribs from a knife fight when he was 17. A small, round depression on his shoulder from a bullet 5 years ago. The newer scar on his thigh from whatever happened during those 3 days when he disappeared to end the war with his sister. He never speaks of what exactly happened during that time, and I never ask. Some sins can't be undone, only atoned for. Some stories are better left untold. What matters is that he came back to us. What matters is that he chose us. At night, when nightmares wake him, less frequent now but still present, I hold him until the ghosts retreat. His arms tighten around me in the darkness, his breathing gradually slowing as the demons fade. These are the moments when I feel most needed, most certain of my place in his life. Not as an obligation or a charity case, but as an equal partner in this strange, beautiful life we've built together. Some nights, after Vincent falls back asleep, I lie awake watching the moon cross the sky outside our window, thinking about the long, winding path that brought me here. From a tired, single mother struggling to make ends meet to this, a woman with a future, a family, a home filled with love and security. A journey that began with the simple, embarrassing accident of falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder during a turbulent flight. Do you ever regret it? I ask Vincent sometimes as we sit on the porch watching the sunset, Lily playing with her toys at our feet. Regret what? He asks, though he knows what I mean. Walking away from everything you built, the power, the money, the respect. I built something better, he always answers, looking at Lily, at me, at the life we've created. I believe him. I see it in the peace that has gradually replaced the watchfulness in his eyes, in the way he laughs now, full and deep, without looking over his shoulder afterward, in how he walks on the beach with Lily on his shoulders, pointing out birds and boats and clouds shaped like animals, his focus entirely on her delight rather than potential threats lurking in shadows. The man I fell in love with still carries darkness inside him. It emerges sometimes, in the cold fury that filled his eyes when a stranger approached Lily too closely at the park, in the calculating efficiency with which he handles business competitors who think his new life means weakness. The wolf is still there, beneath the surface, ready to protect what he loves. But that darkness is balanced now by so much light. By the gentleness in his hands when he helps Lily build sandcastles, by the patience in his voice when he explains complex business concepts to me, never making me feel small for not understanding immediately. By the wonder on his face each morning when he wakes to find us still beside him, as if he can't quite believe his good fortune. We are not perfect. We argue sometimes, about security measures I find excessive, about my insistence on paying my own way through school despite his offers to handle it, about 100 small things that couples everywhere disagree on. But beneath these surface ripples, the current of our connection runs deep and strong. Lily calls him Papa now, the word falling naturally from her lips one morning 6 months ago. She doesn't remember a time when he wasn't in our lives. When she draws our family, she gives him a cape sometimes, her hero, her protector, larger than life on the page just as he is in her heart. In quiet moments, I still marvel at the unlikely turn my life has taken. How the most dangerous man I ever met became my sanctuary. How someone from a world of shadows taught me to step into the light. How a chance encounter on a plane changed not just my destiny, but Lily's and Vincent's too. We exist in a world of our own making now, not entirely free of shadows, but bathed in more light than darkness. A world where a former Mafia boss reads bedtime stories and checks closets for monsters. Where a struggling single mother finally stopped apologizing for taking up space and learned to dream again. Where a little girl grows up knowing both strength and tenderness, protected not just by walls and security systems, but by the fierce, unfailing love of two people who found each other against all odds. I watch Vincent now, standing at the edge of our garden with Lily on his hip, pointing out a rainbow arching over the ocean after a brief summer shower. His face is relaxed, happy in a way that still surprises those who knew him before. This is the man beneath the armor, the person he might have become if life had been kinder to him from the start. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with a simple act, a tired mother falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder. Sometimes the most unlikely connections forge the strongest bonds, and sometimes, if you're brave enough to take a chance, you find yourself exactly where you're meant to be, in a place you never thought to look for happiness. A place called home.